Right, we've got a T. Robinson & Son of Rochdale stationary steam engine, single cylinder, double acting. That means that steam acts on both sides of the piston at the same time, alternately according to the valve gear. This drives through a crank and a crosshead to the main crank. There's your crankshaft, crank there, crosshead here, lubricated by drip oil lubricators either side. The main crankshaft drives through to our flywheel, which takes the lumps out of the piston's action. Because it's a single piston, you do get powers only at two areas, not all the way round if you had multiple cylinders or cranks. Fed off the main crankshaft, we have a eccentric which controls the slide valve gear. Also a mechanical lubricator that puts what is known as steam oil into the throttle and the piston and lubricates that. Main throttle valve and governor control on a slide throttle steam valve. Right. We have two drain valves which takes the excess water out of each end of the cylinder to prevent hydraulic knock, which can take the end of the cylinder off if you've got too much. We've got another eccentric which drives the water pump. The water pump is running all the time and it's normally bypassing, and when we want to feed up we just stop the bypass and it feeds through non-return valves into the boiler. At the moment the engine is running on what we call tick over. That means that we're in control of the engine and not the governor. If we speed it up, then the governor takes control of the engine and it keeps a constant speed, better than what we can. It was originally used at Basing Park to power a water pump for the ornamental water features of the gardens. Whenever they had big do's or dances and that, they used to put the ornamental fountains on and waterfalls and power it with this engine. That lasted until the late 60s when an electric motor took over. It was then put to scrap, but the scrap merchant didn't know what to do with it. And Commander Baldock, who started Hollycombe, he managed to acquire it quite cheaply. And it's been here ever since. The last 6 years it hasn't been run for very much, and we have just recently taken on the steam farm the end of last year and spent all winter restoring the engine. As you can see, she's in not bad condition and runs rather smoothly. The power takeoff, as you can see, is from the large belt at the end of the crankshaft. That powers onto the line shaft, which drives all the various machinery in the steam farm. We also take a feed off the main flywheel normally onto a smaller line shaft at the back to drive the generator. However, we have a problem with subsidence on the mount block of the line shaft, and it's gone out of alignment. We've got to reset that. That's a major job coming up in a few weeks. The generator itself will produce 8.5 kilowatts, 110 volts, which is about 85 amps. And it's DC, not AC. At the moment we've only got 7 light bulbs on it, so we're not heavily loaded. That's fed through an old switchboard which is due for restoration this winter. The boiler, 1960 vintage, so it's relatively new. Working pressure about between 40 and 60. Safety valves lift at approximately 79 psi, pounds per square inch. Has a hydraulic test pressure of 200 pounds per square inch, which gets done every 10 years. But it's inspected every year or so. It's a water tube, vertical water tube boiler. There's not a lot more you can say about that.